but they always print money to cover the debt. When they do, we're going to get extraordinary price inflation. You think it was bad a year ago? 17, 18%, which they called 7. Remember, I said they lie about price inflation, and that lie should be turned on its ear for economic growth to demonstrate that we're in a very powerful recession. I call it a depression. We're in an inflationary depression, and it's going to be called that probably by next March or June. Oh my gosh. Okay. They're going to print money and it's going to leak. We're probably going to get a stock market rally. They're going to permit it because there's going to be so much money flying into the system to cover the treasury bonds being sold and rolled over. Some of it will leak. They're going to lower interest rates until they cause a dollar currency problem. They're going to move. It's like what's it? Pac-Man bounces off the walls. We're going to bounce off the bond crisis wall and hit the currency crisis wall. Then we're going to reduce rates. We're going to stop reducing rates. We're going to stall. When they stall, you're going to get a currency problem. And it'll turn back into a bond problem. When they start raising rates, you get a bond problem. When they cut rates, they get a currency problem. We're not going to get out of this alive. After you have 1 or 2 bounces where you get a currency problem, you're going to have a bond and currency problem. And that's when things break completely. Don't know when, next several months. Will we get to next November? I'm giving it 10 to 1 odds against. Okay. I'm a sports guy. I actually thought Alabama was going to beat Michigan. I thought that. Anyway, it was closer than I thought. It was almost a toss-up. It was not a home game for Michigan. And there were a lot of unusual little factors in there that were not corrupt at all. Michigan had better coaching. That turned out to be a big issue. But I'm an odds guy. I'm a Vegas guy. I have stories about Vegas. Oh, do I have stories about Vegas? And they're not pretty. Why did the Oakland Raiders move to Las Vegas? Because Las Vegas has power. Because Las Vegas runs the NFL. Why is the next Super Bowl in Las Vegas? Because Las Vegas has power. They run the NFL. Okay, I follow sports, and let me put some odds on July. Let me put some odds on, well, it's actually pretty much the same thing. I'll say 5 to 1 odds that we get some very serious crisis events by March. 5 to 1 in favor of crisis events in the bond market by March. 5 to 1 odds in favor that we have a very big credit crisis by June or July. Before September. They go on vacation then and they just hold things together with baling wire and rubber bands and chewing gum. We're also seeing something I haven't brought up yet, and this is an accelerant to the fire. Now you had some fire in your preview. Well, there's an accelerant to the fire for the bond market, and it's called the Suez Canal. Let me just make a very simple statement. I could back it up. The statement goes like this. Suez Canal and the problems of obstruction and shutting down and insurance will bring about an end of the king dollar as the global currency reserve. It'll take a few steps. Right now we have the U.S. Navy fighting a third world nation with Persian backing, Yemen, the Houthis. Houthi Tootie. Gosh, when I first heard the word Houthi, I thought it was a nickname. No, it's the name of a tribe. H-O-U-T-H-I. Houthi. So it's not Tutti Frutti. No, it's Houthis. The Suez Canal has forced a rerouting and an extra cost for shipping. It has resulted in higher costs for insurance. It has resulted in perhaps 500,000 barrels of oil per year in additional usage to go around African Cape Horn. The Suez Canal is going to reveal that the U.S. military can no longer defend the dollar. Now, back in 2004, I started this newsletter, Alpha, and I had a term description, and it was not intended to be a joke. But I said the dollar is not backed by gold or silver. The dollar is backed by the U.S. military. Ever since Syria, what was that, 2018, 19? The dollar has now been revealed as no longer being, how do you say it, forcefully, effectively, nor powerfully backed up by the U.S. military. If we cannot control the high seas with our military in order to defend the dollar, then the dollar is at risk, and Suez is the lightning rod. Suez reveals that the U.S. military cannot defend the dollar.
Let me add another variable to that. I don't know if you've had a chance to consider this or have heard of it, Jim. But a very reliable source who's been doing combat corresponding more than all the combat correspondents out there together is down in Panama right now. They've been doing, he follows the human trafficking along the Darien Gap and all that. But some of the information he's given me, and he's a veteran as well, so he understands special forces. He understands landmarks. And he says that the CCP is not only buying a lot of land right there in Panama, but it looks like if they're making a move to control the Panama Canal. If this turns into be if this concern he has becomes a reality, and we see this issue with the Panama Canal, and then we see this issue you're talking about with the Suez Canal, is that the potential of another lightning rod that does this? How does that play kind of into what you've been telling us?
Well, that actually affects North American trade and supply, but it also affects the human caravan of 10,000 people a week. For those who don't know, the Chinese have operated the Panama Canal for 20 years. If you're wondering if they're going to control it, you're a little late to the game. They've been operating it for 20 years. Now, if they operate it, they can tell certain national flag registries you can't go through. They've never done that, but they've been operating it for 20 years. So I'm not concerned if China can take control of the canal. I'm concerned if they're going to change how they control the canal. I'm going to have to close this in the next few minutes here, Alpha, because I got something in 5 or 10 minutes. But there's an absence of rainwater for the natural lakes of Panama, and they are the ones that supply water to the canal. It's freshwater machinery. They cannot have salt water in the locks machinery. It causes very big problems. I don't want to get into all the mechanics, but that's roughly what I was told, and it makes a lot of sense. And for those who go down there, go see the Panama Canal Museum. 4 stories, $10, tremendous museum. The Suez Canal, not the Panama Canal. The Suez Canal is going to display the lack of power and effectiveness of the U.S. military. We're going to have a hard time with the Houthis. They're going to knock out a couple ships. There's no doubt about it. We're so vulnerable. In every U.S. military Pentagon simulation, we lose in under 1 week. We've got the most corrupt weapon procurement system in the history of mankind. I've got stories, involve Raytheon and others. Okay, I'm going to have to go. It's been a pleasure. I hate to just abruptly go, but my website is golden-jackass.com, and subscribe, hit the consult button. If you're wealthy and you want to support my mission, hit the sponsor button. It gets hit once in a while. I actually fall to my knees and thank the Lord Jesus every time I get a big donation in the form of sponsor. I'm a Christian. I believe that Christians have helped me to get this far. And I pray every day for protection because I'm out there speaking boldly, speaking with courage. I call a spade. These guys are corrupt. They're not just human traffickers. They're narcotics traffickers. They're child traffickers. They're organ traffickers. They're adrenochrome traffickers. They're Satanists. And they give you hints all along the way if you're paying attention, and most are not. Most people are not paying attention. They're not paying attention. They miss the symbols. They think that some of the satanic symbols are cute and it's just a trendy mode. No, it's not. No, it's not. Okay, golden-jackass.com. We'll have to do this again, Alpha. Good talking to you, good meeting you. You got a great radio voice, by the way. Mine's a little too high-pitched.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Jim. You guys, golden-jackass.com.